Can I just read a quote from Immigrant Acts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
The story suggests that the making of Chinese American culture, the ways in which it is imagined, practiced, and continued, is worked out as much horizontally among communities as it is transmitted vertically in unchanging forms from one generation to the next. And I think this quote is trying to interrupt the myth of this generational transmission, which is how we think about our Chineseness a lot, right? Through our parents and through ancestrality and the ladder of lineage that we come from. I guess what's interesting is this friendship has been very revelatory to me because I think you're the first Chinese male friend that I've had in my adult life.
I always feel that with this friendship, it's an act of making Chinese Canadian identity, that you're sort of like a social element in my life, and through that, as opposed to me just claiming my own Chinese Canadian identity, I always feel like I'm making it with you in part.
Which is why I think when we get to the question of praxis, like how do we live our lives to open the signifier of Chineseness for ourselves, I think the partnership is a crucial part of that praxis for me.
Yeah, I suppose I think, to me, like the idea of praxis is first understanding like the theory, right? And on like a level which we've been dancing with and through is the idea of Chineseness as stable. We've established is actually not stable.
Yeah.
And we've established already that, you know, the separateness between Canadian and Chinese is not as amorphous as, or is not as distinct as people would say it is, or like, and like the lived level, like what it really means to embody this identity of, we're calling it Chineseness, but I suppose in actuality it is Chinese Canadianness.
Yeah.
What that means, I think, finds expression through friendship in a very serious way.
Yeah. Yeah, friendship being the site where we can experiment with the signifier of Chinese Canadian.
Yeah, friendship is the precondition to play, and the way we open up the master signifier of Chineseness is by playing with it. But like not play in the abstract, play in a very literal way, where we sort of play with it as a social collective.
Yeah.
Especially, right, because like race isn't just private, isn't just, you know, social, isn't just individual.
Yeah.
It's also has to be social.
And I guess my question around the praxis of our continued friendship and this deformation process that we're always going to undergo as long as we interact with each other, I guess my question around that is, can we come up with techniques and practices that we actually can do with each other? Whether that's around speaking Mandarin or learning Mandarin, or it doesn't even have to be linguistic. They can be corporeal activities and things like that.
We both speak personally. When we're speaking very closely to each other, we always both speak English.
Yes.
So like the play, but when we're more playful, we will take a Chinglish sort of register.
Yeah.
Right. So like our language of closeness and personality is English when we have personal conversations.
Yes.
But our language of sociality is sometimes,
and silliness
is Chinglish, Chinese. I think the fact that we're so silly about it allows us to untangle the shame of not having mastered Chineseness in ways which other people would expect of our bodies.
Yeah, in the case that humor is this kind of compensatory mechanism for shame, right? You react to shame with a good dose of humor, and that allows you to swallow the shame a bit better. And there's nothing wrong with that compensatory mechanism, I don't think. For me, Chineseness only exists in the spirits of the Chinese people that I know. I hear about how my Chinese friends understand their own Chinese,
Really?
and that's how those Chinesenesses relate to each other. What were we talking about right before invention?
Work, alienation. It doesn't have to be like work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This work right now. This is work.
Yes, it's so social though. It's so personal.
Yeah.
I suppose it is work, but it's pleasurable.
Yeah.
But if we did this every day,
Right.
it'd be so much labor,
Yeah.
and we would feel it, right?
It would be interesting to like do it every day and like figure out when it actually starts to feel like labor.
Yeah, no, that
When
would
it stops being fun.